This is the Latin 2 lesson for Monday, the 15th of September. I'm going to show you this in two different fashions. First, in an analytical fashion, arranging the verbs by type, and then I'll show you in a more sequential fashion. Okay, so first of all, let's deal with the verbs that are est or erat and how they form sentences. So when the verb is erat, as it is in number 1 here, you have to find the subject. In this case it's Maecenas. What comes in this box is usually easy to find. It's usually an adjective. In this case it's a noun and an adjective. In fact, there are two of them. Vir insignis, an important man, and a vetus amicus, an old friend. Second sentence, erat is the verb, was, and what he was are two adjectives, dives, rich, nobilis, noble, that is from the nobility. Third form, erat, was, he was, third of all, an equus, a knight, privatus, but a private citizen. This one has a clause starter too, quamquam. So although he was a private knight, that is not the uppermost class, but okay. The next sentence I want to, these don't go in order, these are just the sentences I've picked out for you. Est is the next verb, poeta is the noun, facetus is the adjective, also doctus, a poet. The poet is clever and learned. Next verb, again, erat. Quintus is the subject, veracundus. Shy is the verb. Okay, Quintus was shy. Now there are two sentences where there's a verb that takes no direct object. So sedebat was sitting, subject Maecenas. We're only told where he was sitting, ad mensam. Ad can mean to if the verb shows motion, but sedebat shows position, not motion. So in this case it means near. Virgilius is the subject. The verb again, acessit, and where it is that he is approached is ad eam, to him. The next type I want to show you are verbs that have a direct object and sometimes an indirect object. So in the first case, Maecenas is subject, expectat is the verb, whom he expectats is te, you. Okay, there's no subject in the first one, it's just I in English, not in Latin. Dixi is the verb, and ae is the dative object in Latin, what we call the indirect object. That is, it says to whom he is speaking, to him. And what he says is told you in a different way. So again, We have I as the unexpressed subject. Recitavi is the verb. See how I means first person, past tense, perfect. So I have recited pleraque, several of what? Carminum tuorum. These are just modifiers, so they don't matter that much to us at this point. And then, again, an indirect object, that is a dative object, to him. You could also say maybe for him. Okay, sorry, the typing is so loud. Tavianus aestimabat is the verb. Eum. And tanti just answers the question how. And quanti here, tanti here means of so highly. It's the best way to translate it, tanti. Okay. And so on. Same. The next sentence, kolebat is the verb. Musas, the direct object. Studebat is the verb. Literis acts as the direct object, even though it's dative. The thing that you study in Latin is not accusative, but always dative. So he was studying literature. Again, in the next sentence, same thing. It's probably just a mistake. Adjuvarat is the verb, and how he adjuvarated them, or whom he adjuvarats helped, are multos poetas. So the direct object are these two words. The verb is adjuvarat. Okay. Gerebat as the verb. He was wearing not a togam, but a tunicam solutam, a loose tunic. Virgilius is the subject. Tixit is the verb. And then totiens is not really the direct object, but it's an adverb so many times about you. So you can put this in the direct object position. From an English point of view, that makes sense. It doesn't make grammatical sense, but it makes good translation sense. And mihi, again, a dative object, we'd call an indirect object, to me. Ille is the subject. Because of this characteristic E ending, has to mean he. Pauka is the indirect object, and respondent is the verb. Mykenos, as we had up here several times, with that same shape, mykenos with that ending, is the subject. Revocavit is the verb. Quintum is the direct object. Okay. Nono mense is just a ablative of time, telling you when, right? At what time in the 9th month. There are a few participial phrases in this exercise. One is usually they just have a we'll show you meditans, the one morpheme that shows a present participle, ns, meaning ing, right? Meditating, that is practicing. A Carmen would be the direct object here. It's a neuter noun, so it could be subject or object, but in this case it's accusative. It's what he is practicing. Quintus is the subject. The participle secutus just means followed, and whom he followed is Virgilium. Okay, just as in this sentence here, leganes, reading, and what he is reading, a librum, should come after it here in the direct object slot. Okay. Here we have a rather elaborate phrase. Ille is the subject, inspiciens the participle, same as before, ing, inspecting, looking over. quintum. So whom he is looking over, it goes here, the direct object, sorry about that, direct object, participle goes here, subject goes here. Okay. In a sentence like this, it's tempting to make this the subject because it comes first, but locutus, you can see, is masculine with that us ending, so that will be the participle, which will go in the verb slot here. The participle is kind of a verb, and what it is, he said, locutus means said, is pauca verba, a few words. Singulatum is an adverb, so you just ignore it. It means one at a time, singly. Infinitive phrases are the next type of verb where the subject is generally an accusative. Right? In this book, generally the subject will be placed first in the infinitive phrase. So in this one, te, subject, componere. Remember, this is the morpheme, one of like 3 morphemes for an infinitive, along with esse and several others. Componere, and what he is putting together, composing, are optima carmina, the best poems. So with this one, he, say, is the subject. Ortum esse is the passive of he, meaning he arose, and then from what circumstances is told you by the dative phrase here, or ablative of origin, I should say, from Etruscan kings. Here again, say, him, or that he, placuisse, pleased. Then whom you please is always in the dative case, in this case, maicenati. So let's just take mycenum here, mycenatem as the subject, mycenatem. So Maecenas, and then the verb is delexisse, had delighted him, and secondarily probare, what he approved, probare, are carmina eius, his poems. Okay. Maecenas took delight in him, and secondarily Maecenas approved of his poems. Okay. So still Maecenas here, occupatum esse, was occupied, and what he was occupied with are negotiis. Okay, so the subject is just same as before, Maecenas. Ab esse, where the subject is expressed somewhere else, probably still Maecenas. Maecenas was away. And then, yet again, Maecenas is the subject. What he will do is revocaturum esse, the future participle. He would recall Quintus. Okay. Now we have infinitive phrases. There's 3 or 4 of them, maybe 5 of them, that are usually called complementary. That is, filling. They fulfill what's the thought of the verb. So velit, the first one means wishes. Cognoscere is the infinitive. This characteristic, er, re ending. And what he wished to get to know is te. So ut in this case means to wish to get to know you. Velum, same sort of construction. I want to. Commendare, the infinitive with the same ending I showed you before. Okay. I want to commendare. And then a long direct object, amicum meum quintum ratium flacum, my friend Quintus Horatius Flaccus. Then in another ut clause, ut to, in order to, cupiam, in order that I might desire to cognoscere, get to know you. This is very similar to this sentence here. Then again, the verb posset also requires an infinitive, in this case ending in I, because it has a passive form. It's not passive in meaning. But to be able to speak. Fare means speak. Okay. Two more, I think. Praeberet, to show. And what he was to show is say, understand, esse, indignum, and of what is told you in this phrase here, of the friendship of such a great man. The essential part is here. Okay. Last one, verbs of ordering, like verbs of wishing, require an infinitive to tell you what it is they ordered. He ordered, understand me from the previous phrase, or him, esse in amicorum numero, in the number of his friends. Okay. The last section are subordinate clauses, always begun by a subordinate clause starter, usually cum or a QU word. Like these are very much like WH words in English. Okay, so cum, when. Erupit Virgilius, so Virgil is the subject, erupit is the verb, and that's all. It's intransitive. Right? There's an adjective modifying Virgil, he's elated, but that's all. Cum, again, when. Now, it says intravicent. When you have a cum clause like this, followed by this sort of ending, it's a pluperfect subjunctive. It's a very characteristic shape, this ISSE, then whatever ending it has. It means when he had entered. Okay, and then a prepositional phrase telling you where he had entered. Okay, quae. Always best to translate quae as that until circumstances prove that won't work. That delectant, that delight. Okay. Qui. You could say who, in this case is probably better, dicebot, who was saying. Quorum means whose when it refers to people. Okay, so otherwise you have to say something cumbersome like of whom. Of whom, then the verb akeperot, he had accepted the accusative non nullos sum into the number of his friends. Okay. So in this case, you see, you have to say not whose, but of whom. Better in English probably to say sum of whom. Okay, where although this is the direct object, you would translate it here, sum of whom. Cum again with this characteristic. Oh, this is just one we've seen before. So this has the same meaning, when he'd entered the tablinum. But this is an embedded relative clause, quod erat. Okay, what he was. Okay. Let's see, another quad clause. This time meaning because, quad meaning because, defuisset so, because he had let himself down so. Quamquam meaning although, equus privatus erat. Probably best to make that the predicate and erat the verb. Just makes for smoother English. Although he was a private knight. And then the ut clauses, 4 of them that we've actually seen before, up above. So we won't. Let's see, this one we've had. This one we have not had. Ut to neglect his amigos, his friends. Ut to consoleret, to counsel him, the direct object, and then a prepositional phrase just telling you about what? About matters of the utmost importance. And finally, this is not to, but so that, probably has some sort of prefix word or a word that indicates this is a so that clause, a consecutive or result clause. He was so affected or so nervous that he could posset, fari, speak, weeks is just an adverb meaning hardly at all. Okay, so that's an analytical look at the passages I want you to read over tomorrow.